In a time long before kings ruled Israel, when judges guided the people, there lived a woman whose story would echo through the generations, shaping the lineage of a king and ultimately, the birth of the Messiah. Her name was Ruth, and her journey was one of love, loyalty, and unwavering faith. This is her story. Ruth was born in the land of Moab, a place beyond the borders of Israel. The Moabites and Israelites had a complicated history, often at odds with each other. Yet, fate had a way of intertwining destinies in unexpected ways. In those days, a famine struck Bethlehem, the town of bread, forcing a man named Elimelech to leave his homeland. He traveled with his wife, Naomi, and their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, to seek refuge in Moab. There, the family found food and settled among the Moabites. Time passed, and tragedy struck. Elimelech died, leaving Naomi a widow in a foreign land. Her sons, Mahlon and Chilion, married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. For 10 years, the family lived in Moab, but heartbreak followed when both sons also died. Naomi, now bereft of her husband and children, was left with her two daughters-in-law and an uncertain future. News reached Naomi that the famine in Bethlehem had ended. With nothing left for her in Moab, she decided to return home. She urged Orpah and Ruth to remain in Moab and start anew with their own people. Orpah, after much sorrow, kissed Naomi goodbye and went back to her family. But Ruth, with a heart full of love and determination, clung to Naomi. Her words would become a testament of devotion for all time. "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried." Ruth 1 verses 16 to 17. And so, Ruth and Naomi journeyed to Bethlehem together, two widows with nothing but each other and the hope of a new beginning. In Bethlehem, life was not easy for the two women. They arrived at the beginning of the barley harvest, and Ruth, eager to provide for them, went to glean in the fields, picking up the leftover grain that harvesters left behind, as was the custom for the poor and the needy. As she worked tirelessly under the hot sun, she caught the eye of Boaz, the wealthy and kind landowner who happened to be a relative of Naomi's late husband. Boaz had heard of Ruth's devotion to Naomi, and his heart was moved by her kindness and perseverance. "Stay in my fields," he told her. "Do not go elsewhere. I have ordered my men not to harm you. Drink from the water jars whenever you are thirsty." Overwhelmed by his generosity, Ruth bowed and asked, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, though I am a foreigner?" Boaz smiled. "I have heard all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. May the Lord reward you for your kindness." Ruth continued working in Boaz's fields throughout the harvest, taking home grain for herself and Naomi. Day by day, her faithfulness and diligence did not go unnoticed. Naomi, wise and perceptive, saw an opportunity. She knew that Boaz was a close relative and, according to Israelite custom, could act as a kinsman redeemer, someone who could marry Ruth and restore their family's lineage. One night, following Naomi's guidance, Ruth went to Boaz as he lay resting at the threshing floor after a long day's work. She humbly lay at his feet, a symbolic gesture of seeking his protection and redemption. Boaz woke with a start and saw Ruth. Understanding the significance of her action, he was deeply moved. "You have shown even greater kindness now than before," he told her. "You have not pursued younger men, rich or poor. Do not be afraid, Ruth. I will do for you all that you ask, for all the people in town know that you are a woman of noble character." However, there was one obstacle. Another relative had a closer claim to redeem Ruth and Naomi's land. Boaz, being a man of honor, sought to settle the matter legally. The next day, he met with the other relative before the elders of the town. When the man declined to redeem the land and marry Ruth, Boaz stepped forward and joyfully took Ruth as his wife. Ruth and Boaz's union was blessed by the people of Bethlehem, who prayed that their house would be like that of their ancestor Perez, the son of Judah and Tamar. Soon, Ruth bore a son named Obed. Naomi, once a grieving widow, now held a grandson in her arms, a sign of restoration and new life. Obed would become the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David, the greatest king of Israel. Generations later, from the house of David, the promised Messiah, Jesus Christ, would be born, a story that lives on. Ruth's story is one of remarkable faith. A Moabite woman, once an outsider, became woven into the very fabric of Israel's history. Through her loyalty to Naomi, her humility in the fields, and her love in the heart of Boaz, she found not only a home, but also a legacy that would change the world. Her journey teaches us that faithfulness, kindness, and trust in God's plan can turn even the most painful of stories into tales of redemption. Ruth's life is proof that love and loyalty have the power to shape history, and that no one is ever too far from God's grace. And so, the story of Ruth is not just a story of the past. It is a story for today, a reminder that even in the hardest moments, hope is never lost. Shalom.